Okay, now we're going to do question 4 from 2023 July. Apparently, it's a criminal law, criminal procedure question. And let's begin. Number 1, with what crime or crimes can Deborah reasonably be charged? And again, when they say charged, there's a difference between crimes you can be charged with and crimes you can be convicted of. You can be charged with both robbery and larceny, but you can only be convicted of one or the other, because robbery or larceny is a lesser included offense of robbery. You can't be charged with, but you can't be convicted of both for the same act, but you can be charged with both of them. So you can be charged with larceny, assault, battery, and robbery, but you only can be convicted of either robbery or larceny. Okay, so we're on essay number 4. So when they say reasonably be charged, to me, that's more of a laundry list of potential crimes that can be charged, what defense is, and what's the likely outcome. Very standard call of the question. D is the defendant, focus on Deborah's intent. He is the focus on Deborah's intent. Number 2, should the court grant Deborah's motion to suppress her statement? Well, statements are covered under Miranda under the 5th Amendment, not really the 4th Amendment unless you're getting the exclusionary rule, somehow fruit of the poisonous tree. So when they say her statement, I assume we're probably going to get 5th Amendment Miranda, possibly 6th Amendment right to counsel, but I doubt it. Okay, taken from the top. Deborah was homeless and without money. Okay, so either she's going to steal something or she's going to break into someone's house. Why else would they be telling me these two facts? One night, and now when I see at night, what's the first thing that comes to everyone's mind?
Burglary.
Burglary. The temperature was below freezing and continued to drop. Deborah realized that she might die if she did not find shelter. She found a rundown house with an attached garage that had a door connecting it to the house. So we've seen this essay before. I think it was in 2013 where Dan and Eric went into, or Dawn and Eric or something like that, went into that lady's garage who was supposed to be out of town, where they were stealing the computers, and she ran the business out of her garage. And they ended up pushing her when she came down because she hadn't gone on the vacation. So it seems to me, and that discussion was about burglary and whether or not that was all with the garage was someplace that was considered as a dwelling for burglary purposes. And the answer is probably yes, because it says there's a door that it connects to the house. So there we have the dwelling. We have the nighttime element of burglary. And you can see they're going to give you all of it. She found a rundown house, so of another. It's not Deborah's house. Deborah thought the house was unoccupied. Okay. Well, isn't that every burglar's dream? She went around to the side of the garage, looked through a window, and saw a stack of wood. How convenient. Wow. So, all right. So she thinks nobody's home, but she knows that somebody probably lives there, else why would there be wood there? Deborah decided to go into the garage, take some of the wood, and build a fire outside the garage to keep herself warm. Okay. Interesting way to go about it. So she is going to go in there and take the wood. So there would be the larceny. So there's the larceny or the crime, the intent to commit a crime inside, to commit upon entry, and build a fire outside. Because when you burn wood, you've permanently deprived the person of their ability to ever use the wood again, and that would be the crime that would satisfy. And don't forget, larceny and burglary, of course, you can be charged with both. You can also be convicted of both, because you can break into someone's house without stealing something. You can break into their house to either burn it down, to rape them, to rob them, to murder them, but not necessarily to actually steal anything, although that's most burglaries the intent is to commit larceny. It doesn't always have to be, so they're not lesser included offenses. And I can steal your property without breaking into your house. That's why you can be convicted of both larceny and burglary. Okay, so she built a garage. She broke the window to get into the garage, and there's the force used for entry. Again, they give you all the elements in the fact pattern if you just pay attention. Everyone see that? How they're giving this all to you? Very, very common. Because of the extreme cold, she decided to stay in the garage. So obviously she broke the window to get into the garage. So there's the entry as well. And she decided to stay. Okay. So once she broke in and entered, the burglary is now complete. Moment of entry, burglary complete. Okay. Because of the extreme cold, okay, she gathered wood scraps and paper. started a small fire to keep herself warm, and fell asleep. Spark from the fire ignited some oil on the floor. Deborah awoke to flames and smoke. She then escaped through the window she had broken, so she's now leaving. The fire quickly engulfed the house, where it killed Stewart as he was sleeping in his bed. Now, one of the interesting things I want to show you guys real quick. Where to go? So arson requires a malicious or reckless act. Now, did she start the fire? And malicious means intentionally. Did she intentionally try to burn the house down?
No,
Did she recklessly try to burn the house down?
no.
I think she did.
And we went over this, believe it or not, the Sunday before the exam. Literally days before, a defendant who accidentally starts a fire may be convicted of arson if he fails to extinguish the fire or take steps to prevent further damage. Such action is reckless. Job, Katia. Good job, everyone. I know you guys knew that one. Okay. So ironically, this was, believe it or not, the first time arson's been tested in over 25 years. So here we go. So we have arson, engulf the house. So there's the charring. Because it's engulfing the house, it's more than just mere discoloration or what's called scorching. Clearly, the entire structure has been burned. So there's the charring, where it killed Stewart is sleeping in this bed. Now, when we have a dead body during the commission of a felony, what else do we got?
Felony murder?
There you go. Good. The felony murder rule. So an accidental death that occurs during the commission or attempted commission of a felony can be charged also as first-degree murder. So there's two felonies here, the burglary and the arson. You can use either one, but I think, arson would probably, best be used as the underlying felony, as long as you show that she maliciously or recklessly caused the fire. And clearly, by escaping out through the window without calling for help, without making any effort to try and put out the fire. Now, I'm not saying she would have successfully put out the fire, but at least that wouldn't have been reckless if she had at least done some steps to fail. She has to fail to extinguish or take steps to prevent further damage. She's done none of that, and therefore we have the intent element for arson is satisfied recklessly, which will satisfy the malice and forethought for felony murder. Does everyone understand how that is? Lauren, I see a look on your face that you quite not get that. What is it?
I get it.
You get it? Okay. So for felony murder, with murder, there's 4 different types of intent. Malice and forethought can be found in any way. Intent to kill, clearly we don't have an intent to kill. There's no intent to cause anybody great bodily injury. That was what Deborah set out to do. You can maybe make a case where Deborah was extremely reckless under depraved heart murder, which I would probably discuss as well, depraved heart murder, because recklessness for arson is very similar to the recklessness for depraved heart murder. It's when one acts recklessly. So you might be able to say, it'd be a stretch, but you could I would definitely discuss it. How for the intent for murder would be depraved heart, extreme reckless act. Although she is doing some good, she's homeless, trying to keep herself warm, doesn't intend to hurt anybody. So I wouldn't say that her acts would maybe raise to that level. But anyways, the recklessness within depraved heart, it satisfies the malice of forethought for felony murder, just like the intent to kill or cause great bodily injury satisfies the malice of forethought for murder. So does the committing the felony. All the prosecution has to prove is that she committed the underlying felony and a death occurred as a result of that felony. So is it foreseeable that if you start a fire indoors that someone's going to die? Yes, there's a causal connection there. So we're going to have felony murder with arson being the underlying felony, in my opinion. Officer Oliver, who was patrolling the area, and notice the first paragraph goes to call 1. The whole entire first paragraph goes to call 1. And now that we're on the officers on the scene, I can tell you there's going to be criminal procedure. We're going to go to call number 2. Who was patrolling the area saw Deborah walking on the sidewalk 3 blocks from the fire. When Oliver asked her what she was doing outside on such a cold night, Deborah said, "I started the fire." A couple things there. They don't have probable cause, and they do not have reasonable suspicion to stop her. and even ask her any questions. I mean, she's just walking on the sidewalk, public place. I mean, it is at night. We don't know how late at night. I mean, it could have been 9:30. I mean, who knows if there's any curfew laws. So I don't know. There's no probable cause or reasonable suspicion to stop her. Guys, the police just can't stop you on the street for no reason. I don't know if you know that. Okay. Asked her what she was doing outside on such a cold night. She said, I started the fire. Well, let me ask you this. Is she in custody? No, she's not in custody. They might just be asking her as a courtesy. I mean, they could know anybody, the police can just approach you and ask you questions. You don't have to answer them, but you're not in custody. You're not being detained. You're not being arrested. So, you know, an officer can come up to you and say, hey, how you doing? Like, Elizabeth, you're a pretty girl. An officer might be interested in you and ask you what you're doing on this cold night. I mean, there's nothing unconstitutional about that. If you choose not to speak to them, you don't have to speak to them. But they can do pretty much what any other citizen can do. So when she said she started the fire, she's not in custody. Is this question likely to elicit an incriminating response? No, there's no way, because they're just asking her what she's doing. And anyways, it's a voluntary statement, not really made in response to the question that was being asked. So unless we have a Fourth Amendment violation, which I don't see, I mean, no probable cause, no reasonable suspicion, not like she's being detained. It's not like she can't go anywhere. Although I wonder if that's going to be something the examiners were looking for. Because why would they, I mean, they just asked a question. Still. All right. Anyway, it does seem like the statement's going to come in. Deborah is charged in criminal court. That's weird. I've never seen that. And moves to the press her statement, I started the fire. And good luck, she ain't going to get that. All right, so what crimes do we have? We have the burglary, we have larceny, we have arson, felony murder, possibly depraved heart murder. And I can't imagine how anybody, except for the arson part, I can't imagine how anybody fumbled this at all. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did anybody make any mistakes that you want to discuss? I mean, I don't want to embarrass you, but I'm kind of curious to know if there's something that maybe I thought was easy that you didn't. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Jason, I discussed the defense also. I was arguing that Deborah, she didn't have intent to commit felony when she was breaking into the house. Is it relevant or no?
Well, the intent was to commit a crime inside.
Her intent was to self-defense her, not to die because it was freezing night.
Necessity.
Necessity. Yeah, I brought that up too. Yeah.
Oh, necessity. Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay, interesting. And I do recall somebody mentioning that during the exam. Asma, I'll get to that in a second. I'll let Asma discuss.
Yeah, I also brought the same thing, and I also wrote an email to you, and I mentioned all the points that I discussed. I did. Yeah.
Okay. Necessity. So, can she break into someone's house? I mean, that's a good argument. I mean, I do believe that was probably there. I still would have needed to go through it one more time to figure out if there's any defenses. I mean, the homeless thing, the freezing cold temperatures, on a second read, I probably would have caught that. Homeless without money, although I'm sorry, I don't feel sorry for Deborah. How'd she get into that position? One night, the temperature was below freezing and continued to drop. Yeah, it's really cold. She realized that she might die. There you go. And did not find shelter. Okay. Because on the first read, I was really looking for the crimes. And now, once I go back to the call to question, what crimes can she be charged? What defenses can she reasonably blaze? And what's the likely outcome? Now I can see that. So self-preservation, necessity. Okay, I see that. Lauren?
Trespassing?
I'm sorry?
She be charged with trespassing.
You could be charged with trespassing, although I don't think the examiners have ever really asked about trespassing because that's kind of subsumed by the burglary element. I mean, you could bring it up. I just don't think that they were going out of their way to look for just trespassing because you have the whole burglary thing and trespassing is. So breaking and entering and trespassing all is part of burglary. Of course, you could say, you know, be charged with it separately if they don't get it for burglary, which, you know what, maybe they were looking for that. Trespassing, I haven't seen it before. And that's why I'm kind of shy on it. So I would think that they were probably just looking for burglary. Although if you put that in there, kudos to you. When the answers come out, we'll see if there was trespassing. Go ahead, Asma.
I did discuss trespass to land.
Oh, you did,
Yes, I did.
but that's a tort.
Yeah, but just a little bit, like, what charges, so. Yeah.
And don't do that, because they're asking what crime or crimes can she be charged? And I think some other people did mention something about trespass to land or trespass to chattel. And that's when you kind of go off and I'm not Asma, I know you didn't do that, but other students that I've heard or talked to or in the past, in the 16 years that One Timer's been alive, I've seen that. I've seen everything. I've almost seen everything.
There was a
was that-
multi on that. There was a multi talking about it was trespass shadow conversion and then two other stupid ones. It was like a car, but the car was completely ruined. So conversion. But
Probably
that's the only time we got a tort question like that on the MBEs. I just remember. Thank you for bringing it up.
And Andrew, if you have a question, feel free to send it to everyone rather than direct. Can she be charged with leaving the crime scene? That's not something the examiners look for or test on. What they would be looking for is the fact that she did leave the crime scene would be the recklessness that satisfies the mental state for arson. Okay. All right, so I think that will conclude with essay number 4.